we kick off the results from our annual State of the Sector survey. Now, this year, we have spoken to over 300 builders and more than 1,000 homeowners who have recently completed their build projects. So some really rich data here that tells us what's top of mind for people, what is keeping them up at night, but also where are the opportunities and where are the green shoots at the moment. We all want to know where those are. So we've used these insights that we're about to share with you to kind of shape our agenda and our conversations for the days ahead. So let's jump in now to the results, and we'll begin by looking at sector confidence and the economy. We asked our building and construction sector participants to tell us, how do you reckon the New Zealand economy will look in 12 months' time? So here are the results. Around 46%, so just under half of the sector, believes that the economy will improve over the next 12 months. They reckon it will be either moderately or substantially better than it is now. Around a quarter think it will stay the same, and 30% think it will get worse. So quite an interesting split of predictions and forecasts there from within the sector. So that's the economy as a whole. Let's crunch things down now and look specifically at your thoughts about the building and construction sector. How do you think it's going to look in 12 months? Well, only 38% of you think that things will improve over the next 12 months. 21% think there will be no change in the prognosis, the health of the construction sector. And in fact, 41% think conditions for the sector will get worse over the next year. So clearly our participants telling us that the recovery for the building and construction sector will take longer than it will for the economy as a whole. So what is your pipeline of work looking like in light of that forecast? We asked our participants about how their order books are shaping up, and it's quite good to see actually 50% of respondents still have a steady or strong pipeline of work for the year ahead. But 34%, around a third, are seeing their pipeline weaken, and this is perhaps most concerning, 16% are seeing a critical diminishment of work. So these are some of the thoughts from within the sector, Anchor. Is that consistent with the conversations that you're having on a weekly basis?
Yeah, I think we recognize the challenging economic climate. I think it is tough out there. A lot of businesses are struggling. And we have seen a lot of reports in the media on pipeline challenges and negative sentiments. And in my view, sentiments are backward-looking, and they get influenced by how things are happening in the recent time, and pipelines are point in time. And looking back at what happened at the GFC, both of these can change very quickly. So I think it's important for us to look at what is the outlook for the industry and what are the key factors which impact the outlook. In our view, in medium to long term, we have a positive outlook for our sector, fueled by strong demand for both housing and infrastructure. And as we will see, Reserve Bank will start easing the rates, and also bank will start easing the lending restrictions, we'll probably see a quick recovery. I will like to explain it as winter is here, but summer is coming. So we need to, as a sector, manage the winter, but we also have to keep an eye out for the summer and prepare for it. So when the recovery comes, we can grow sustainably as a sector.
Okay, so I guess that begs the question, what are people doing during the winter? What are the changes that they're making in their businesses to shore up for this recovery that we're hoping we'll see? So we asked our participants, what are the steps that they're taking within their businesses? Now, around 76% have reduced overheads, and for over half of those, that includes cutting staff numbers. More than 50% of companies have increased their sales and marketing efforts, so putting more effort into sales and marketing, and 43% have looked to new markets and sectors to build out their pipeline of work. What do you make of that?
Well, I think that's the theme of the conference. The diamonds are forged under pressure, and I think tough times build tough businesses, and we're seeing that out there. I think many businesses are not just adapting, they're transforming, they're driving efficiencies, they're focusing more on sales and marketing. And I think that demonstrates that as a sector, we are maturing, and with the right mechanisms and support, we can become more resilient.
Okay, so let's break this down a little bit further. We asked our participants, what is top of mind? What are the issues that are causing greatest concern for you? And I guess no surprise, access to finance is most critical. And this did actually emerge as a major issue in last year's survey, and it was topped, I think, last year by the rising cost of construction, but finance is very much number one, top of mind this year. And the second issue, lack of consumer demand, no surprise there. So, Ankit, finance and consumer demand, both of these really relate to confidence, don't they? How do we respond to that as a sector?
Well, I think confidence is key to our recovery. Businesses need confidence, they can get finance. Equally, we need clients to get access to finance and have confidence the economy will recover so they can start committing to projects. Inflation in construction costs has gone below long-term industry averages. I think that will give market more certainty. Government has also released a lot of policies to address both housing affordability and infrastructure challenges, and I think they will help in time. In the short term, recovery will come when we start seeing some of the credit conditions ease. As far as confidence is concerned, I would like to highlight a point that strong negative or positive narrative can become a self-fulfilling prophecy. Notwithstanding, we're going through a tough time, and a lot of businesses are struggling. We need to also keep sharing positive stories. We need to identify new opportunities. We need to prepare for recovery because these are key elements to get the confidence back in the sector.
So that storytelling piece is really important. We've had a bit of change in the country since our last Constructive. We've had a change of government, and so we asked our participants this year, what do you make of the impact of the government reforms that are underway? So consenting has been in the top 5 sector issues for the past decade, and it will not be a surprise to you to see that the government's consenting review and RMA reforms are very much anticipated by the sector. So we're talking about consenting a little bit later in Constructive. Do you believe that the government's work in this space and the work that it's signalled will make a difference to the people in this room?
I think it will make a difference, but it'll take time. In my view, processes shouldn't be set and forget. They need to be refined to improve productivity and efficiency. With new technology, materials, information, it's crucial that we keep building standards and practice fit for purpose. So our view is that consenting in New Zealand needs to be refined to improve both productivity and efficiency. So recent reforms, I think, move towards virtual inspections are a step in the right direction. However, their success hinges on consistent implementation across New Zealand. So in my mind, we need deeper consultation with the industry. We need more consistency if we want to improve the consenting process in New Zealand.
Absolutely, and Minister Pink is with us later, and I'm quite keen to ask him about that, so make sure you put in your questions for the Minister on that as well. I'm sure he'll be very pleased to receive them. Procurement is another related issue, and we know that often as the markets tighten, procurement practices can slip. So no one's obviously saying that this problem is solved, but the good news is that it doesn't seem to be deteriorating, actually, quite as quickly as it has in past recessions. In fact, 42% of our respondents believe there's been an improvement in procurement in the last year, either substantially or moderately, and 40% of you reckon it has pretty much stayed the same. So Ankit, it obviously takes 2 to tango in a contract or in an agreement. What is your feeling about how we can tackle this issue, and what is the role that Master Builders has in that?
Procurement actually is quite significant for New Zealand Inc. So New Zealand's got significant infrastructure deficit built over decades across multiple governments. And we currently have current assets under need of significant maintenance and repair. Good procurement is key for productivity, and I think will be critical as we look to embark and solve this issue. For me, in large complex projects, things don't always go to plan, and the trust between the client and their contractor is key to resolve issues and to complete the project successfully. One of the key of building trust is making sure there's clarity around roles and responsibilities, and the risk is fairly allocated across all parties. To assist with this, we recently launched a good contracting project. As a part of that, we've developed guidelines, we have developed a standard pre-construction contract template, and that is to help clients and their contractors build trusting relationship early in the pre-construction stages. Ministers have come out and said that they want government to be a better client, and I think good procurement will be key to achieve that goal.
Absolutely. All right, so those are some of the supply side issues. Let's look at demand now, and this is something we've put a real focus on at this year's Constructive. What do we know about the experience of homeowners, of people who are building and have already built? So we've already seen lower consumer demand as one of the key issues for the sector right now. What did we find in our survey? Well, we found actually that for the majority of homeowners who have built in the last 12 months, the experience has been a good one. Surprise, surprise. Not just positive, but they've used words like easy, smooth, exciting, and excellent, as you can see from the word cloud behind us. Now, they also said, of course, that at times it was stressful and long and onerous and all of those things that we know come with building. But they told us that those things were offset by the positive aspects of the experience, which will come as no surprise to the people in the room, but maybe it'll come as a surprise to the people who open the paper every morning. So, does this feedback ring true?
Well, despite frequent media focus on project failures, I think it's, for me, encouraging to see that most homeowners report building experience as positive, using words like smooth and rewarding. And we know that most businesses build very strong and positive relationship with their clients. We see the strength of these relationships in a House of the Year, commercial project awards every year. We see clients with their contractors or their builders celebrating their homes or their commercial projects together. And sharing these success stories, I think, helps us balance the narrative. And I think it's key to encourage others who are looking to embark on their building journey with confidence. And getting this confidence where people move from not being sure to committing to a project, I think is key to recovery for our sector.
Okay, that said, it is also an anxiety-inducing process to decide to build a house and stump up the money and all of that type of stuff. So we asked homeowners, what are the main concerns for you when you go into a build? And probably not surprising, for most, it was price escalation. They're worried about paying higher prices for their home. And the other two critical issues were project delays and something that none of us can control unless Adrian Orr is in the room, which she clearly isn't, rising interest rates. So what can we do about the things that we can control?
I think delays in a project can not only increase cost, in a lot of cases, significantly add stress on clients if it comes as a surprise. So my advice and our view is that when there are delays, things don't go to plan, it's critical to communicate clearly, communicate early, because not only it's critical to build trusting relationship with the client, also it gives you the opportunity to engage with client to find solutions. So I think it's making sure there are clear expectations, managing those expectations. If things don't go to plan, communicate early and engage with the clients. And I think that's the best way to manage through any project.
And you can't really over-communicate, can you? Most people would rather have more information than less. Okay, so we asked homeowners to tell us what is the information that they want? What would they like to know more about at the outset of a project? And interestingly, the thing that people wanted to know most was about the guarantee. That's what they said. So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I'm not surprised. I think in the current climate, with all the industry challenges and failures, our guarantee has been absolutely critical in protecting homeowners and their investments. And I think that's the sentiment we are seeing here. For most homeowners, building a home will be the significant largest investment they'll ever undertake. And the guarantee is a way to de-risk it. And I think it's great that homeowners are acknowledging it.
So we've also talked about sustainability at the last few Constructives. It continues to be an issue for the sector, and it's obviously connected to some of these other things we've just mentioned, like price and affordability. So when we asked builders about the barriers to sustainability, they reported cost as the main issue. Our homeowner survey found that 78% of respondents did consider the sustainability of their build. 50% managed to balance sustainability and cost, while 23% had to prioritise cost over sustainability. So this is kind of really taking us back to affordability as being the key issue here, isn't it?
Lending costs and housing affordability are significant challenges in New Zealand at this moment of time. When we look at sustainability, our view is we need to look at both supply and demand. And I think we've done a lot in New Zealand to address supply, which is better building standards, better materials, a lot of focus on design. I don't think we've done enough around demand, which is educating consumers on long-term benefits, both health benefits and financial benefits of sustainable homes. Some of the demand-side solutions are banks offering better lending options to clients, acknowledging long-term lower operating and maintenance costs of sustainable high-quality homes. Equally, government could acknowledge that sustainable homes are healthier and reduce stress on healthcare infrastructure and offer subsidies. So we need to start looking at more demand-side solutions along with focusing on supply. And if we want to create more sustainable houses in New Zealand, we need to find a way to make them more affordable.
I mean, it is quite striking looking at that graph that 21%, so 1 in 5, sustainability wasn't even a consideration. It wasn't even in the mix. What do you make of that?
Well, when we've got a situation where people can't put the roof over their head, and we've got half of the country which is not owning a house, and it's extremely difficult for first home buyers to get into the housing market, I think sustainability won't be the top concern. Having said that, we need to find a way to build more sustainable houses in New Zealand. So I think there's a way for us to think about sustainability, standardization, and tackle this challenge. I've said this before, it's not a short-term thing, but if we keep operating in that way, educating, focusing on making it more affordable, we'll probably end up in a situation where we can get sustainable and affordability balance right.
Yeah, so what are our builders currently doing to tackle this challenge? Waste management continues to be the biggest area of focus, with 62% of the sector prioritising waste management on site. This is consistent with last year. Nearly half our builders are prioritising using more sustainable materials, and 20% are looking at how they can reduce their own carbon footprint. So, Ankit, from a sector perspective, are we doing enough to shift the dial?
I think we've taken a lot of positive steps in waste management. In our commercial project awards this year, we had projects which were diverting over 90% of waste from landfill. I think so for me that demonstrates not only a strong initiative, but commitment from our sector. And as more and more businesses start managing their waste better, I think it encourages more investment and infrastructure around both waste collection and recycling. So I think it's probably an area we have made a lot of positive steps, and we just have to keep working on it.
Yeah, and we've had people like Dr. Terry-Ann Berry at conference before, and we know that there are some people who have been banging this drum for a long time, and it seems like we're starting to actually make some progress, which is great. Okay, let's get back to our homeowner results now. And we asked our homeowners, what surprised you the most about the build process? And for the majority, it was actually that it was much easier than they expected. What do you make of this?
I think it's a fantastic feedback, and I think it demonstrates we don't talk enough on positives which happen within our industry, and we just seem to focus more on when something will go wrong. And I've said this before, despite strong media focus on project failures, I think most homeowners are having positive experience. We need to share more of these stories to balance the narrative, to give people confidence when they're about to start their building projects, and I think that confidence will be key as we start looking to get recovery back.
And we can't just wait for award ceremonies once a year, can we? It's about individual businesses taking those stories of the difference that they're making in the lives of the families and the communities they're working with, and trying to share those stories as well.
Absolutely.
Okay, we also asked some questions about what happens when things go a little bit pear-shaped. And we asked our respondents to tell us why they think that was. So the most common theme was there seemed to be a disconnect between the customer's expectations and reality, often in relation to delays and costs and quality. How can the sector respond to that?
I think in any project, especially building projects, things don't always go to plan. And I think the trust between the client and their builder in this instance is critical to kind of work through issues and complete the project successfully. And key to building trust is making sure you're setting clear expectations, you're managing those expectations. When something goes wrong, communicating clearly and early. And I think all those things for any project are critical. And in my view, advice would be when something goes wrong, it's probably prioritize communication, be open and honest, and work with clients. Because in a lot of cases, clients want to engage early to work with their builder to resolve those issues together.
What about the customers who said, we got the finished product and the quality, the specs were not as high as we had been led to believe or we expected?
I think that's an eternal problem. Don't we all want a BMW for a price of a Honda? We're all looking for discounts and sales. And unfortunately, building a house is not a piece of clothing you can buy on cheap. If you don't like it, you can throw away. So I think as a sector, we need to do more to educate consumers on difference between standard finishes and quality finishes, and both in terms of the cost impact and timelines impact. Equally, we're encouraging homeowners to understand that cheaper is not always the best. And there are a lot of cases, long-term financial benefits, both in terms of operating costs and maintenance costs of high-quality homes. And we have a lot of clients, when we look at a house a year, who are actually prioritizing quality and deliberately making those choices. But I think ultimately, we need to make sure we set clear expectations, client understand what they're getting and what they're not getting, and managing those expectations better.
Okay, the last question we asked homeowners is, would you recommend this? Do you think other people should put themselves through the process of building a house? And the answer is yes. Over half of those 1,000 people surveyed would definitely recommend building, and a further 34% were likely to recommend it, depending on the circumstances of the individual. Only 10%, so 1 in 10 of those who had finished projects in the past 2 years would say, absolutely not, don't do it. So, what is your message, taking into account that data?
I'm very pleased we are finishing on a positive note. I mean, just to highlight, most of these people have undertaken their house build in the last 2 years, which has been absolutely challenging time for the industry. We've had cost of living crisis, building price inflation, labor shortages, project delays, and most of these people are, have positive experience. So I think we should be very proud as a sector of achieving this level of engagement and outcome. My final message will be, we need to keep building in New Zealand. We've got a significant shortage of quality houses and infrastructure. Technology and innovation will be key for us to improve productivity as we look to tackle this challenge, but we also need to work together as a sector to address some of these long-running issues around housing affordability and infrastructure challenges, because only working together we can build a better New Zealand.
Ankit, thanks so much for your insights this morning. Let's give Ankit a round of applause.
Thank you, Jihan.